Hi guys, so you've just received your brand new MyoSauna Lux. And as you'll be aware, there's many boxes, but this is to keep all of your product safe inside. So please make sure you have at least 2 people to move the boxes. And if they're too heavy, feel free to undo some of the heavier boxes and take each stave piece by piece to where you want to build it. Also, we want to make you aware that you need a flat, even base to have your sauna placed on. As you'll be aware, every box has a number and a description of what's inside to make it easy to follow on with this how-to video. Also, you will notice that there's an A4 leaflet with QR codes on. One of them has a how-to instruction manual and the other one has the how-to video. You'll also notice that there's 2 big black base parts of your MyoSauna Lux. As I've just said, these will be the base which we build your MyoSauna Lux inside. So please look after them and make sure these are the first pieces we get to start the build. And the final point, which is really important, is you need to find a trained, qualified electrician to wire in your MyoSauna Lux. So to start, we want our black base bits of wood, which you can see below me now, and then we want to move all the boxes to one side to have space to open them, and you'll see many things in each box, but the heavy ones generally have the slats in that we'll require, and also within the boxes you'll find a bag full of screws and nails we'll need, and in the box with the accessories you will find rubber mallet, which we'll also need. Also, please be aware that you do need an electric screwdriver to be able to drill the screws into place, as well as a normal hammer for when we do the roofing tiles later on. But to start with, we want the black base, and then we're going to go to the boxes and I'll show you what you need next. So when you open the boxes, you'll notice that there's a double rounded edge and one with some masking tape. This is your roof section and this is the start of your base. We need the big B to start this process. You'll also be aware of other staves which have stickers on, and I'll talk through what they are right now. So to start the build, you're going to get your base panel, which is the center point we will start building off, and also you're going to find the next stave which have bottom panels on them. You can see these because of the sticker, but also have big holes in to help with any drainage. So these are all the staves we need to start the process of working to our base. So to start the build, we're going to place the black base boards on the floor. Please remember you want an even, nice space to build your sauna. So we're going to place these on the floor in the section you want. Then you're going to get the base panel with the double rounded edge, and you will see that there is a pre-drilled hole. This is what needs to line up on top of the black base boards to make sure that we're the right distance apart. So now we can remove the middle stave now that we've got the distance set correctly. The next stage is to measure the width of the black base wood to find the middle section so that we know where to screw the base board into. This is really important to start our build correctly. So we're going to measure from one side to the other, which equals 163 centimeters. And then we're going to halve that, which equals 81.5. And this is my center line I'm going to mark to put my first base unit on both pieces of the black base board. And we want to repeat this on both sides of the black base unit. Now that we have the center point and we have our base stave, we're going to line the middle screw hole up with the mark I've just given. Again, it's important to make sure the screw hole is in the middle of the black base. We're going to screw this section in with one of the long screws straight through. So now we're ready to start building out from the base stave. So this is where you need your bottom panels with the big hole, and these are going to lay down either side and work around the base before we put the front and back wall in. Important steps are to align this section, and you can place your finger in to make sure that it marries up so you get a nice clean line coming through. When that's in, we want to give it a nice tap, nice and tight. You've got your mallet or a hammer, you can give a little tap. Not too hard, just a little bit. Double check it's in line, and then once it is, we are going to get one of the long screws, place it in the middle, pressure and pressure down. So as you can see, the important bit is to line up these gaps so it's nice and smooth all the way along. Give it a little tap with the mallet to make sure it's in. And then we're going to place the screw in the middle, pull it in tight, and then we're going to put some downward pressure on and lock it into position. We continue this on both sides all the way around until we get towards the bend, and then we'll show you what to do next. So once you've finished putting in your bottom panels that are pre-screwed, we're going to add one more base panel without the hole on either end. This you have to put the screw up and down to go through and want it nice and in line. Same as before we tap in, but once we've done that last straight panel on either side, we are then going to get the next panels and just slide them into position, but not lock them into place. We're going to do this after the front and back wall is in. So same as we've been doing, we're going to line it up, make sure that it's nice and aligned, and we're just going to come up to the edge of the black unit there. So them 3 are not screwed in, and what we're going to do is we're going to connect them once the front and back wall is in and screw directly into the front and back wall to keep a nice bend. So now with your partner, you're going to get the back panel. It's named on the box and you're going to slide it into position, trying to get it as even as possible on both sides. So you have an even gap. You're trying to move it so it slots into the position and you might have to give it a tap in the middle with your foot to make sure it's in. And once this is in, you should be able to let go. And now you know that it's sturdy, so you can get the front panel and repeat this on the front section. Now we're going to get the front panel. As you can see here, please be careful as there's no door handle, so this can swing open and closed. If you have a bit of masking tape or anything, you can pin this closed, but as Junaid was carrying, he just had his hand on it to look after it so it didn't open. Now we're going to do the same as the back panel. We're going to lift it, gently try and place it in evenly. And again, you might need to give it a little tap to get it into. So now we have placed the front section in. Obviously be careful. We're going to have Junaid hold this. The back section is still secure. And to make this all nice and solid, why we seal it in is we're going to get one stave and we're going to go inside and make sure we place the run of the stave over the front and then do the same with the back. And we want it to slot down and into position, which makes it a lot more secure. And Junaid can now hold it in position. So as long as he's holding one section, the back section will copy because we've connected the two. So Junaid can keep hold of one side while I start to fix into position, and then we can swap to the other side. And once I've done the bottom curves and fix them to the actual front and back wall, we can let go and it'll be totally secure. So now we've got the front and back wall in place. Your partner is holding them in position. I can now start to slide out the pieces of wood I put in. So I'll take two out. And once those two are out, I'm left with the one which is still free and bendy at the bottom. I'm going to have to screw. So I'm going to go at a 45-degree angle and I'm going to build some momentum through. I'm going to also bring it back out a centimetre, go in a centimetre and a half, back out a centimetre, in a centimetre and a half. So if you want, you can use some cardboard under this corner to help lift it. It's easy to do with part of your packaging and you just slide it under the wood to lift it into the position you want to screw it in, and then we're going to continue. As you can see there, we've got a nice angle. We just want to brush off any of the wood and we want to make sure the screw head is fully in. So there you go, now it's hidden, so the next piece can go on. I can now slide the cardboard out and repeat on the other side. Now that we've connected that first corner, we slide the next panel back in. So place it on the hole so it slides round. Going to give it a tap into position. And now we're going to do the same, but we're going to come from this angle and again pin it up in to the edge. If we want to use cardboard again around this bend, we can. So if you want to lift it and give it a little wedge into position to help you, that's fine. And then we're going to come at a bit more of an angle. And same as before, we're going to go in and out several times. We want to make sure that the screw head is nice and flush. So we want to keep bringing it in and out until we get it pushed in nice and flush. Repeat this on both sides. So now we're on to the final third piece of the bottom corner, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to find the gaps, shimmy it into position, make sure we bang it and tap it in, and then we're going to do exactly what we've just done on this final edge, but we can do it more square, and that's the final third piece done. And from there, we're going to build the corners. But we complete this on both sides. Now that we've completed the bottom curve, we are ready to build either wall. So how we're going to do this is by getting our staves. Some are pre-drilled, some are not. We're going to go alternate, so we'll have a drilled section, especially coming out of this bend, and then we're going to have two undrilled, and every 3 to 4 is going to be a drilled section working our way around. So we're just going to slot it into position. As it gets in, going to tap it round. Again, we can use the mallet if you'd like to give it a little tap into position. And once we're in position, we just drill through, and this builds up both side walls. We're going to complete this on both side walls, so your partner can be one side while you're working on the other. Please remember to bang them down to make a nice tight seal before drilling every 3rd to 4th stave. So as you start to build the sides, something to be aware of is when you look face on at your sauna, you will see that there is an air vent pre-made section. This is to sit under your sauna stove to help with airflow. So once we've come out of the bend, so we've done the bend, we've got one straight section on, this is the time to add the air filter into the side. So we're going to place it in. So now we've done the side wall and was building up to the top corners. Please make sure you get a step ladder or some sort of step to help you get up to the higher levels. Also, we are going to want to use pre-drilled holes on all of these bends. So we want to screw this in nice and tight around the bend. So now we're doing this corner section. We're going to place the staves into position. They're going to be a little bit loose as we bend around the corner, but we're going to cover this with waterproof membrane anyway. So we're going to give it a little tap into position and we're going to screw it into place. Again, we're trying to get it to bend around the corner, not bang down so much. If we bang down, it squares up. We're trying to bend it around the corner, so we're bending it in. As we do this, drill it in nice and tight, and we'll continue this all the way around this top bend. And then as we get to the roof, we can drill every second or so stave. So guys, occasionally you might find that the stave won't slot perfectly in, especially as you come towards the end. All you have to do is lean on the wood, give it a bit of an opening either side, and then it'll slot back down into position. Then you can shimmy it in to where you want to go. So this is quite common. Your partner can be inside and just lean a bit to let it slot in. So now we have a small gap ready to put in our center section. Depending how big the gap is, you can have both sections back to back to slot in. You can have a section with the extra extenders to slot in to make the gaps, but it's about having a nice tight finish here. You can also loosen screws off if you see that one side's a smaller gap than the other. You can loosen the screws on the roof so that you can tap it and create some space. And then now we're in a position to slot this piece in. I'm going to lift the other piece and find the edge. And then as that is in, I'm going to start to tap it down. And as you can see there, I'm going to shimmy them all along to make a nice tight finish. And now I'm going to screw them back down. And that's our roof completed. So now we've completed the exterior of your MyoSauna Lux. You'll see that you have 2 rolls of this bitumen waterproof membrane, which you're going to lay over the top of your sauna and show you how to do before we apply the tiles for the finishing touches of the roof of your sauna. Firstly, we're going to roll it out on the floor. So open it full length. You want the black side facing up and the grey side facing down. So now we've unrolled the bitumen roof underlay, but we can only get rolls in 4 meter lengths and we want 2.5 meters 2 times. So what we're going to do is have to measure and cut. So from one end, we're going to put a tape measure. We're going to bring it down and find 2.5 meters. You can use a pencil, a white pen, anything you want to mark it. I'm just using the groove of the scissors here. I'm going to make a nice cut across and keep the 2.5 meters to put onto my roof. So that is a 2.5 meter section we've now cut. We're going to repeat this on the second roll, and then we are going to place it on top of our sauna roof. So now we have cut it to our 2.5 meters. You will see the top section is black, the underneath is grey. We're going to peel this off when we're in position, and you've got this middle section. This goes in the middle, the end bit is black, and we're going to place it on top of the sauna. So you can put your hand underneath, lift it up high. You can get a third person if you require to help you get it over, and then we're going to shimmy it into position. So now we've got it on the roof, we want to make it even. So we can count down the straight section. So once we come out the bend, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 staves, and we've got to the 6th. And on the other side, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. So we want to make these even and shimmy it around so that we are in the same section. So here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. This side I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So a little bit too much now again. So what we're looking to do is get it exactly the same. So here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half. So we're now at the same length. As you can see as well, I've left a bit of overhang. So what we're going to do is when we peel this grey underneath off, it is glue, and this is going to stick to our wood. But we also want to cover our end grain because fascia is going to go on and protect anyway. So we want enough to bend over and cover the wood fully, but not have loads of overhang. If you do, you can use a Stanley knife or scissors, but we're going to work by bending this over the end grain. And as we stick it down, we're going to take a bit off at a time. So we're going to release the grey, stick it down, release a bit more grey, and we're going to come with a step ladder from the top and be pulling the grey and working it down. As we get to these bends, we're going to use a Stanley knife or some scissors to cut, and again, bend over these sections to protect the end grain. We're going to work that all the way around, and then we'll get our second piece of bitumen waterproof, and we'll do that again on the other side. So now the bitumen is in place, we're able to remove the grey under bit. As you can see, you can tear this into different sections to do it a piece at a time. So you can tear the front bit to give you the section to pin this front corner. We're going to work just with a slight overlay to protect the end grain, but also you can do it chunks at a time by tearing it and going the other way to do a piece at a time as we work along to then stick. And then each time we do it, we'll lift a bit more up. We can pull it back and gradually work up and over the roof. So we want to get this bend done, Peel it right off, lay it down, and then we can get on the roof and keep pulling it off and keep working this down to work all the way over. And then once the underlay is fully off, then this will be stuck down nice and solidly to the wood. And then once we've stuck it all the way down, we can then come to the front, finish this section, use our Stanley knife to bend the corners. So now your roof bitumen is in place, it's time to connect the metal straps to pull your sauna in nice and tight. So what we're going to do is we're going to loop this all the way around the sauna. We're going to get a similar distance off each end. So I recommend about 30 to 40 centimeters. We're going to repeat it, and then we're going to connect and tighten it up so that the steel band pulls our sauna and keeps it nice and tight. Now that we've unrolled the metal strip, we are going to work it under the sauna floor. So we're going to feed it all the way through. Your partner is going to bring it over the roof, pull it back, and as you'll see now, we've got our two sections of our band. This is where we're going to use our connector, slide the metal piece in, which brings it through and down. And what we're going to do is undo the bolt, slide the end off, then we're going to pull this all the way up. And then with the second piece, we're going to slide the end on again. So what we're going to do is slide this section on, we're going to pull it up, and what we want is a similar overhang in terms of what's left. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you also want to make sure that there is also, when you look at it, there is enough to screw this end section on. So you want it quite tight, as you can see there. And you're going to pull it tight, you're going to pull this tight. Now when we push it in, that looks about the right level for both. So I've pulled it nice and tight to our sauna, and then all we're going to do is fold it over. So partner can hold one side, and I'm just literally going to fold the metal over and back on itself, like that. And then partner can hold that side, and I'm going to repeat that with this section. Fold it up and over. Very nice and tight. Now I can slide the sections in, reattach the spring first, then the washer, now the bolt. And with this, if you've done it wrong and it's not quite the right length, you can always undo this, straighten out the metal and bend it a bit further. But the aim of this is now to tighten this space as tight as we can. You want to make sure this section is down on the wood, not on the bitumen. And we're going to tighten both sections to pull it nice and tight and connected to the wood. And as I said, you want to just measure and make sure this is the same distance on both sides, and we repeat this process on the other side. Once we've tightened this nice and tight, then it will pull the wood in, and just with a spanner, we can tighten these last sections, and this strap will pull the sauna nice and tight. And we are ready to do the tiling. What you will see is some masking tape around two pieces of wood. They are two triangles, and these are drip edges for the edge of our tiles on the side of the sauna. I'm going to show you now how to put these on, and then we'll start tiling the roof. So now from your screw bag, you will see a different type of screw. These are the smaller, darker colored ones, not the silver. And what it is looking to do is, you'll see, we want it to be a triangle that kicks out. So as you can see here, it will kick out to create a drip away from our sauna edge. So what we're looking to do is make this nice and level. And then once we're happy with where it is, we're going to screw the first one in on one side, and then we will adjust the other side. You don't want to go too deep. It might chip a bit because the wood's been heat treated to make sure it's waterproof. Don't worry too much about it, but we want to go nice and gently in. And then as you can see, we're halfway on that stave. So we're going to repeat that on the other side. So also now your bitumen is done, you'll see that these sections of grey are still here. Don't worry about them. They create a sticky edge, so you can peel it off for connecting your two pieces of bitumen, but this isn't necessary. It's going to be covered by tiles. It has the glued waterproof underneath, so there's no problem with leaving this under your tiles. It will make no difference. So now it is time to tile your roof. We put our drip edge on, and for the first run of tiles, instead of being straight on, normal way around, we are going to flip upside down and overhang by about 0.5 centimetre to 1 centimetre off our drip edge. We're going to pull it up to the edge so it's in line with our fingers, and we're going to run that along. We're going to hammer in some nails. We want these to be just under the gap, and same again this side. And then we're going to have to cut down one section. So we're going to flip it. We're going to butt the end together, get the same overhang, get it buttered up nice. It can overlap a little bit. And then Junaid's going to go to the edge in line with the wood, give it a snip. So you can use scissors or a Stanley knife for this section. So now we've cut this section to size. Again, we can hammer this in to make it nice and secure. One bit of advice is don't put the nails right to the edge because this is heat treated timber, which makes it a bit more brittle. We want to bring it in by about 3 inches on the edges so that we don't get too close to the edge and can cause some cracking. So we want to go nice and gentle, about 3 inches in. So now we've done the underlay, we are ready to attach our first run. Please remember to take off the plastic off the back. This helps it stick down and look nice and neat. So we're going to take the plastic off. And then please remember, wherever the seam is, you want to start with a full run. So instead of me starting here and keeping the same seam line, we are going to swap. So we're going to start our full run from this side. I'm going to push it up to the edge with my hand. I'm going to get the same length so that it is on the drip edge coming down. So now you can see it's all nice and neat. And as we do this, we are going to hammer in just above this upside down U. So about 1 inch above. One thing to be aware of is we don't want to go right to the very edge because this is heat treated timber. It can be a bit more brittle. So we want to come in a little bit off the edges, but we're going to start 1 inch above this U. So that's the first piece done. I can also do another nail this side and one more here to pin it in. And then we need to cut a half to create our new seam. And then be aware on the next piece, we're going to do a full piece this side over the seam with a half here, and we're going to continue to change so that we never have a seam in line with a seam. So here, we're going to butt it up to create this seam. So lay down, and then we're going to use scissors. And then as you can see, the run carries on. So the half, we don't use the other side of the tile, we use the correct run to carry on into this bit. We remember to peel off the backing so it sticks down. And then as you can see, the nails underneath are going to be hidden by the overlap. So now that underneath nail is hidden, which protects it and makes it more waterproof. This is nice and in line. And then again, we're going to put a nail above the upside down U. So wherever this gap is, and then again here, I will attach 2 more nails. So 1 either side, and then final one. And now as you can see, the seam is here. So what we're going to do is start our next run, peeling off the underlay, and we're going to do a full run from this side again. So as you can see, we're going to push it up to the edge, overlay. And what we have to do here is we have to use the scissors and just trim this edge because there's a slight bit of an overlay here. So with the scissors, Junaid's going to just trim this section because what we want is this to overlay nicely. So as it comes up, it hits again. So Junaid's going to get in nice and tight, and then we can peel it off and he can do a nice straight line. So now as you can see, we want this to be in line with the upside down U so it fits perfectly. And where we are going to put our nail is the same as normal, 1 inch above the upside down U. Again, we don't want to go too tight to the edge here. We can go higher up and in if we want, which will be hidden, just to pin it in if we require. But we want to make sure we stay above these U's as much as possible. So again here, we'll go above the U, and then on this end, we can do a final one. And then we have to do the same as we just did a moment ago, where we cut a half piece, so we measure it, and now you can see we butt it up again. We just want to make sure it's nice and even, which means I'm going to put a nail here and another one above the U. As you can see, we're starting to get our run going, and then what we're going to do is get another full piece and start to go over this seam again. And then as you can see, we're continuing our pattern, and then on this section we're going to have a half point where we are here. And as I said, if you want to put a nail on the end, just make sure it's hidden under this section so you protect it. But we're going to continue that all the way around, starting at both sides. And then as we enter the middle and we butt up, we'll then finish with the middle section. And that will be your roof. So now we have finished the roof. So we've came up the sides, came straight to the middle and buttered the 2 last pieces together. If these overlap, it's not a problem. But with the final lot, we are not going to put the nails just above the upside down U. Like before, we're going to come to the edges and nail closer to the seam. And then we're going to hide these. So with these full pieces, we're going to do a straight cut up with the spares and create these tabs. These are then going to lay down your middle section. Remember to take off the sticky proof paper. We're going to place it over the nails. And then from there, we are going to nail either corner. That's our first one down. And then we're going to continue this all the way to the end, but we want to hide them nails. So as you can see, I just get the end over them nails, press it down, and we're going to repeat again. So about an inch in, you can come a centimetre or so down. We're going to repeat this the entire length, and at the end, you will only have 2 nails on show. So each time we do this, we repeat, we overlay the nails, so we slide it up so they're covered. And as you can see the pattern, we're working all the way towards the end, and then the final piece will have 2 nails on show, and they are the only nails out of your whole sauna which is on show. And now your roof is completed. So now we're getting ready to fit the inside of your MyoSauna Lux. You'll see your Y handle, and obviously the glass door's closed. Just very gently with a screw or with the edge, you just want to place it through the hole and just pull really gently. So there's 2 handles. The wooden handle, the bare wooden handle, is for the internal side of the sauna, and the black handle is for the external side of the sauna. You'll also see that there is 3 long screws, and then there's also plugs within here which are spacers we are going to use. So it's 3 wooden, 3 black will go with your partner for the black side, and the 3 wooden will slot on these screws. These are spacers for when we slide through the gap. As you can see, I'll keep hold of the screws. Now Janae's going to slide them on. Now they're on, we can place the black handle in line. And then with my screwdriver, I'm going to gently start to screw in. And again, we don't want to do it too tight. Now the handle is attached. We're going to move on to fitting out the internal section of your sauna. So we're going to fit the benches and also the stove, as well as the stove guard. So you will have an electronic box and also electronic wiring for your lighting system. To connect this, your electrician can do this very simply, but we are going to pop out one of the ends. As you can see here, already has holes pre-made. That's going to be the down section. And then these sections need to take a picture and just see, but if you know, your electrician will know anyway, but the blue is neutral and the brown is live, and we're just going to pop this up. So we're just going to unscrew these sections. You'll see that they both have came off now. So we're going to pop this section off. As you can see, there's already some slice sections to put the cable in through. We can put our finger through to make it a little bit bigger. But what we are doing is going to push the blue and brown wire through. We want to try and get it so that the whole of the plastic comes through. You can see that section there, and then we're going to pull back. And as you can see there, now it is nicely in. We're then going to push it through the hole. So that is our first section done. And then with this side, we're just going to feed the LED light part through, but we are just popping that through. And you pull that section all the way through. And now this is inside. So now we are ready to reconnect these sections. As we said, the brown goes to the L for the live, so we're going to slide that under the section I've just done there, and then the blue goes for the neutral next to it. Again, we're going to pop it under, push it in nice and tight, then we're going to nick this down nice and securely on it, so they are tucked in nice and tight. Put it down. As you see, blue is for neutral, and is for live. We're going to pull these wires out. Then the final thing we're going to do in here is we are just going to connect a screw through this section to hold this nice and tight. So now this has been attached and it's inside. We're just going to use a small screw through a little hole at this side. Now we're going to attach this to the back of our sauna. Now we're going to connect the light internally and put the wiring down. So to do this, we have to undo the 2 screws either side, and please be careful as this is a metal edging but also a glass interior. So we're going to place it down gently. Also the rubber section can stay with the glass. And now with 2 of our screws, we're going to feed our cabling through the hole so it can come down to the bottom of the sauna externally. And then I have to be careful so I know the cabling's out of the way. I'm going to place it on nice and square and get 2 of our smaller screws. Now that's nice and square, nice and level. So now we're going to connect the glass edge. If the rubber seal came out, you're just going to feed it back around the edge. Be very careful as it's glass, and we're going to slide it back over, and then we're going to connect our screws back in. We want to repeat this at the top and the bottom. So now that light is connected with the wiring outside, and we'll continue with the wiring now. So now we are going to put a cover over the external wiring. It has a blue shield on it that we're going to pull off. So now that we've taken the blue cover off, we're going to get this over the top hole. Careful with your wiring and make sure it's nice and level. We're going to screw through this. Again, you don't need to screw too hard. You can go in and out a few runs So in and out, in and out. We're just nicking it into position. I'm going to repeat this further down. So what we're going to do is place the plastic casing over the wire that's coming out and put it up to the bottom of the metal, and then with the screws we're going to come through plastic casing, hold it into position, and then we're going to do the same again in the bottom corner. Now that this has been connected, we're going to put the waterproof casing back on and screw each corner in at a time. And finally we're going to feed the last piece through the hole to be connected to the LED bench inside, and then at the end we can use some sealant to seal this hole, and this is ready to be plugged in, and that is your lighting for your sauna sorted. So now we're going to get the two K pieces, which are the frame for your bench to sit on, and these are going to be drilled directly down into the floor and back onto the wall with the 4 holes which are there. The main thing we have to align with is the top bench, which is got a H on it to show you, and this is the LED bench. Be careful turning it, place it in, but we need the underside of the bench to line up. So this has to line up with this, as you can see. So I need to shimmy them along. Make sure that this piece of wood is going to sit directly on top of here. So it has to be in line. If it's over, it won't sit correctly. So we want to place this in, make sure it marries up, get it in line so that that piece of wood is directly in line to sit on top. And when that's done, I can nick it into position with some screws and then take the bench out. So now that we have connected these seat sections, there's 2 more K parts which are going to go on the wall opposite to give some extra support. How I recommend doing this is get one of your fascia boards, which is an F, but the medium sized one, and we're going to place it on top of the bench. We want it to be perfectly aligned so that we can obviously have the bench sitting on it nice and sturdy. So how we're going to do this is slide it along to the wall. Now that's perfectly aligned with those 2, and as a result I can place this on the wall, level it up with this stave here to make sure I'm nice and aligned, and then as a result I can put my screw in, get my screwdriver, and now I can slide this out of the way. Now you can see as the bench sits on, it's got another level of support, and we repeat this on both sides. We can get our bench and place it on top. If for any reason it's not lining up, you can undo the screws, connect it again, make sure it's nice and level. Now we can continue attaching our lights to our bench. So there's 2 sections coming in with a male and a female. I want to marry them up under the bench. So there is a male to a female. We'll repeat this again, a male to a female, and now that is connected. Before screwing in the top bench, you want to get section I and place it under and in. As you can see, that slots in lovely. Now you will get the second bench labelled H without the LED lights. I'm going to place that on as well into position. What we do have with both benches is pre-drilled holes to screw it down and in to the wood below. And we have a couple of pre-drilled holes straight to the frame. And drill the top bench down. Now we're going to collect the curved eye section, which is the base of the sauna. So we're going to place this down, be gentle with the walls. We're going to slot it under and push it right back. There's some pre-drilled holes and drill into the frame. And that is the base frame done. And now we're going to get the final J piece, which is a thin backrest. Again, be careful when placing it into position. But we're going to use the same method as before with the screws. You can see some pre-drilled holes on the end, but we're going to lift it up and make it nice and level. You might want a partner to help here, but you probably want it about 15 centimeters off the base, as this is for your back. So there's 2 screws, one at top and bottom on all of these. Just make sure to screw them in nice and securely in the pre-drilled holes. That is now secure. If you're a large individual and heavy like myself, you might want to get some of our bigger silver screws you had at the start and come in at a 45-degree angle to pin 2 sections of the bench to the actual wall as well, just to help make it a bit more sturdy. But this is totally optional and up to you whether you want to do that. Now we're going to get our lampshade and place it over our light. So with 2 screws and place it in the hole, get it over nice and square, make sure it's level. And we're going to start with the top screw. We connect the lampshade with 2 screws that we nick in top and bottom just to keep it nice and secure over your light. And now we're going to do the stove shell to protect your stove. And your electrician will drill a hole through to feed the wiring out of your stove to then be wired in, and also will help hang the stove just on 2 equally distant screws. Now we're going to assemble your sauna stove guard. These are the 2 L parts. You're going to have a small square and a bigger one for the front. What we're going to do is there's already 2 pre-drilled holes. We're going to get the longer silver screws, place them in the front, and then with this section, those pre-drilled holes inside. We don't want these pre-drilled holes. We want no pre-drilled holes, and we're going to place it, align it up so it is level and neat. So as you can see, the top's level, the side is level, and we're going to drill directly in. Then nick in, that's one, and then we're going to make sure this is level again, and the same thing, in and out. So now that is the shell of our sauna stove guard, and with these 2 internal sections, we're going to screw through into the wall inside the sauna. So now we can attach this section. We're going to push it up to the edge near the glass, and we're going to push it back against the wall, and then we're going to use the long silver screws again in the 2 pre-drilled holes, work it through into the wood, and there's 2 to be done. So repeat the same process on the bottom one. So this is your sauna stove, and when we hang the sauna stove, it's very simple. We just measure the distance between these 2 top openings, and we screw a screw in halfway so that the screw is poking out of the wall, and then we literally hang it on the wall on them screws. So if I put the screws in here, I'm going to hang it on the wall on top of them screws, and we want to make sure that there's a bit of breathing room underneath the stove. So we want to make sure that there is at least sort of 10 to 15 centimeters at the bottom so that airflow can come in to help your stove. So once we've measured and we've done the screws, you would hang it on top of your screws here on the wall, and then your guard is obviously already in place. So now you have painted and sealed all of your sauna with end grain, preserver, and also stain or oil. So we've also done this to our end fascia parts, and what we will need is 2 of each of these for the front and back. So a small F, a large F, and then 4 Gs for each corner. I'm going to show you now how to attach the fascia. So how we're going to start is with a partner. We're going to get 2 G sections. We want them to be the G sticker facing the right way up, and we're going to get the small F section and lay it in the middle and just check our distancing. So we want the screw holes to be straight in the middle of the wood, really. So as I look here, that looks all good my side, so does my partner's side. So this line is in the middle of the wood, which means that I can put 1 middle section in. So I'm going to do 1 screw first, just hold it into position, and then I'm going to repeat that in my middle section. So I'm not doing all the screws to start with, I just want to align it. So I'm going to start with the middle of the F, and again, we're going to place that through, have it nice and level. It looks like it's in the middle of the wood to me, which is good. So now that's been nicked into position, which is great. And again, just gently place it into position. And now with that, and now we're going to go for a longer piece. So again, we want to try and get the line in the middle of the wood as best we can. And again, I'm not going to do every screw because we might have to adjust these as we go around the fascia, but I'm going to do the middle section and just gently screw it in. I'm going to work our way around, place it in, and again, try and get it so that it's in the middle of the wood. So as you can see, we can adjust this to make sure it's nice. And again, I'm just going to do the center section in case I have to undo any and move it because there's gaps later on. And now we're going to use the shorter section again. So now we're going to use the shorter section again in the middle, and again, I want the screws to be aiming to go in the middle of the wood. So, and then again to this side, we're going to do the G. Then the moment of truth is the last, and fit it in. So as you can see there, we've managed to do our whole fascia, and we'll just need to maybe turn the corner a little bit on one just to tap it down and in, but we want to basically level it up the best we can. Again, have the wood going all the way down the middle, and I'm going to do the middle piece first. And then from there, I can just line up every corner, make sure it's all nice and neat, and then start to do all my screws around to finish off the fascia. So finally, you've treated your MyoSauna Lux. You've done the preservative and the oil that seals it. Your final part is, so you've got some exterior silicone, which you're going to do a bead around this exterior section to just protect it from any water. Then use your finger just to lightly drag it along. And this is just going to help waterproof it and protect your sauna for longer. But you want to do this after you've treated your sauna. So this process only happens once you've used your preservative, your end grain, your oil to make sure your sauna has the longevity you want for many, many, many years to come. And obviously now you have your MyoSauna Lux set up, your electrician will be coming to wire in your stove and get it ready for you, and we hope you absolutely love it. Thanks for watching.